The Carolina Panthers have a preseason tune-up game with C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans in the hot confines of Houston and a hostile environment. The Panthers go into this game possibly with their starters possibly starting their final game to try to work out all the nuts and kinks before the real season begins. Want to find out what the Panthers are looking to do and what type of kinks they're looking to work out? Stay tuned to find out on Growlin' and Prowlin'. Welcome back, Growlers. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this preseason edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. Of course, you're growling with the one and only Mr. CeeLo. And guys, like I said, it's been a hot one. I hope you guys made it through this week. And guess what? It's game day. I hope you guys are doing great. And guys, you can tell I'm excited. And as I said, I hope you guys are too, because it's probably going to be the last time we get to see our starters before week 1 as we get ready for our anticipated tune-up of top draft picks in the 2023 NFL Draft and Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. I always get chills when I watch C.J. Stroud because I love this kid. You guys have watched the show. You guys knew he was my choice. I'm always going to keep up with him. But, as I said, now that he is a Houston Texan, I'm always going to root harder for my boy Bryce Young because at the end of the day, yes, he is a Carolina Panther. Even though he was not my choice, I'm going to say he is now. I claim him now. And honestly, if any of you feel the same way, join the boat. Because I've never wanted to shy away from telling how I feel. But now that Bryce is really showing that the love and care that this organization has given him and not abandoning him like 95% of the national media was going to do, and I would say anywhere from 70 to 80% of the Panthers media was going to do. You guys can go back and watch all of my shows through my archives, and you will see I never wavered in supporting Bryce, even though he was not his best.
What a dumbass!
No! But that's not about that. Maybe I will do a show about that and give you guys some sound bites on how my faith never wavered, not in David Tepper, Dan Morgan, or Bryce Young. Who cares? But let's get to some of the things that I'm looking for in this game coming up. Now, we haven't heard any news, but I would say prospects are good that we're not going to see Jalen Coker this week. I would venture to say that this guy's camp is probably going to be done, possibly maybe play next week with Dalton and company. I don't see him starting, but he may make a surprise appearance. He's been playing that good. He's been playing that well, and it would be a darn shame to see an illness keep him out of action, because the reality of it is you got to play the preseason game anyway, and there's going to be some guys out there that need to play. Jalen Coker needs to be one, as well as Hunter Renfrow, as well as Jimmy Horn. We got to get some reps on these guys because ultimately we need to decide who is going to get spots. I mean, it's going to be tough to get 8 roster spots to the wide receiver position when you've already got 3 to tight ends. So you're talking about 11 guys to the passing game. But ultimately, I would say you got Xavier Legette, who's got to prove himself in a sense, because you didn't get much of a sample size with Cleveland because of that altercation he got into, which caused him to be ejected. But he had some really awesome grabs in practice. in the scrimmage against Houston, and he had a really good catch in practice. And ultimately, he's starting to get that kind of trust factor there. Now, here's the thing: what I tell people about preseason. You always got to remember that there are no stakes in this unless you're battling for a position like you've got you guys know I'm a Notre Dame fan, so right now you've got a quarterback battle there, so you really can't risk. I mean, yeah, Bryce is in no danger of losing his starting position. So when I say he's got to take better care of the ball, a lot of that is him building, a rapport with his receivers. You got to take some shots down the field in preseason so you don't have to worry about not doing that in the regular season. See, a lot of times what happens is you get comfortable making those throws. Now it will deem more of a comfort level. Not only if it's one of those things where Bryce can say, "Hey, I'm comfortable." That's why I feel like Bryson Tremaine, a guy who's 6'5", should get a shot. And I know a lot of people are saying we can't keep that many guys on the roster. Listen, I don't think Bryson Tremaine is going to be a guy that's going to be picked up. I know for certain David Moore isn't. That needs to be a cap casualty or a guy that gets cut. Bryson Tremaine might be a guy we can cut. I don't think we need to run that risk. I know what people are going to say. Well, we're not in liberty to lose him. When guys see you cutting up in camp, guess what? You can't change that dynamic. When there are GMs and scouts out there that are watching saying, this is the guy we need. There's guys like Cam Ward. They got Cortland Sutton in Denver. They would love to add another guy that Bo Nix can just chunk the ball down the field and he goes and gets it. How about Green Bay and Jordan Love? Just saying. I know what people are going to say. We got a wealth of riches, possibly. But we need to see Xavier Legette. I want to see Bryson Tremaine again, and I'd like to see Jalen Coker if need be. But I also want to see Mitchell Evans have a game. Andy Dalton, bro, come on, man. You gotta do better, man. You're not playing well. I want to see us run the ball more effectively. I don't know what the deal is on Damian Lewis or Robert Hunt. I think Robert Hunt did walkthroughs. I don't know about Damian Lewis. They're saying he's week to week. This is where the running game is going to be hurt in the regular season because he's not been there. Even if he starts week 1 and plays week 1, he hadn't had the reps. I mean, I think Cade Mays is good enough at the guard position. We could very well start Cade Mays until Damian Lewis comes up to speed. I know a lot of people are going to say, "Are you nuts?" Well, Damian Lewis is a step ahead of Cade Mays, but not that much more. Then, of course, we got Tommy Tremble, who hasn't had any reps yet, and we're going to need him to get some. So we definitely need to honor and look at that a little bit more. But let's get into this defensive line. I am excited because possibly Derek Brown is going to play in this game. And so we're going to get a chance to look at the beastly possible lineup that we're going to have going in opening night. I think they need to play at least 2 drives. You know what everybody's going to say? Why would you want to do that? What if he gets hurt? How many times have you heard me say this? 90% of the time, if a guy gets hurt in preseason, he's going to get hurt in the regular season. And then many of y'all will sit there and say, "No, that's not possible. The circumstances could be different." That's possible. But why do we want to risk being 3 weeks behind and 0-3 in the hole? Derek Brown needs his first team reps, game speed. And the question is, are the Houston Texans going to come out with their best? I would imagine if C.J. Stroud plays in this game, they need all the reps they can get on that O-line. So a defensive line like this and a blitz package like we present would be the perfect way to get them the reps that they need. And you already know D'Amico Ryans is possibly going to bring his defense out there for our offense. But back to the defense, I honestly think this would be a pretty decent look. And I said the opposite last week with Cleveland. But I will say this, but I think when our first team was out there, our first team was very dominant. And we've got to bring that same type of energy to a borderline elite quarterback. I'm not calling him elite yet because last year his line and their inability after Bobby Slowick was relieved of his duties to make the right kind of play calls for C.J. Stroud. To me, the worst move DeMeco Ryans has made so far is relieving Bobby Slowick of his duties on offense, because he called a lot of the offensive plays on throwing the football that C.J. Stroud likes and is comfortable with. We're not sure what's going to happen this year now that Slowick has been removed, and we get it. They want to run the ball more. But here's the reality. You just drafted the duo out of Iowa State, and they're rookies. I get it. But that tells me that you're trying to get the weapons for C.J. Stroud. Doesn't do you a bit of good if you're only attempting to throw the ball 20 to 25 times a night. Because you brought in Nick Chubb and you brought in Joe Mixon last year and you brought in Nick Chubb this year. But that's good for our defense. Didn't want to go off on a Houston Texans tangent, you guys. Sorry about that. But the realistic thought process that goes into this is that we need to be able to bring the heat up the middle and on the corners and keep C.J. Stroud in the pocket. The reality of it is they're going to try to run the football. And they got to try to run the football because they want to win with their play action, which is something I want to see Dave Canellis institute more of in this offense. We've got a really good duo of backs and a great offensive line run blocking. We need to get to a point where we're trying to not only throw it down the field, but we use play action pass to set up our game. Run sets up the pass. I get it. You don't want Bryce turning his back to the defense. I get it. I totally understand it. But we have to do what we do because defenses are going to be biting on that. And that's what we need to be able to do. The other thing I'm looking at is a guy that I talked about on my previous show, a guy named Lathan Ransom, who could very well steal the starting job when I said I was not preferably comfortable with a rookie starting at probably the most vulnerable position on the field. But it's looking more and more every day like they're gonna flip-flop Ransom and Trayvon Warwick. Like they're gonna bounce him back at free safety. Something. It's almost like it's gonna be a rotational movement there. Like it's not gonna be a foregone conclusion that Trayvon Warwick is gonna be just free safety or strong safety. Lathan Ransom, Damani Richardson, any of those guys, they're gonna be moving around. It's looking more and more like that you're going to see an Evero defense that is heavily man coverage and playing some cover 0, cover 1. So that's what's going to be absolutely brutal, that you get guys like Corey Thornton who may make this team. Shaw Smith-Wade had a really good practice last week, but you didn't hear much about him this week. And Corey Thornton is coming on strong. You can get these 3 guys, and those 3 guys being J.C. Horn, Mike Jackson, Corey Thornton, and Shaw Smith-Wade to get going. And they can cover and make these guys cover tight. And you get guys like DJ Wanham, Patrick Jones, Princely Emmanuel, and Nick Scorton, as well as the Brown boys and Tershawn Wharton in there. And even Ashawn Robinson, who had 5 sacks himself last year. 5.5, excuse me. And as I said, Lathan Ransom has really shown up. He's really laid some licks on some guys. He's really done an awesome job in coverage, as well as Corey Thornton. That's what I'm looking for in this game, seeing if these guys can continue, because Corey Thornton started last week and played exceptionally well. Final thing we're looking at, and a lot of you are not going to be like, special teams. I haven't mentioned this much, but you've got a battle between Matthew Wright and Ryan Fitzgerald. And right now it's looking more and more like this is a neck and neck position. This is a situation where I looked at our cap and we're in a good position. I don't understand why Canellis and Morgan couldn't just call Eddie Pinheiro back and say, hey, look, let's just squash this. What are you talking about? Because he doesn't have a job right now. I'm just a fan that you get a guy that's consistent. Don't change it. That's one position we should not struggle with. And it goes back to the Johnny Hecker discussion. I get it. He wanted more than normal, but I love Johnny Hecker because the reality of it is Johnny Hecker could do a lot of things. He could throw the football. I'm not sure what Sam Martin can do. I'm a big proponent of having guys that can do multiple things. And to me, Johnny Hekker provided that. So, but looking at this competition, I don't like it when the one aspect of special teams should always be locked in place. And I don't like seeing kicking competitions. I really don't. I hate them because there's uncertainty on an entire unit. But let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think about Lathan Ransom? What do you think about that defensive line? What do you think about what we're going to look like against the Texans? Oh, by the way, it does. And people are saying, why didn't I give a prediction? Because I just want us to play well. I want us to play well. Don't care about preseason scores. Just want us to play well. But by the way, just make sure you put your name down in there when you join the Growling and Prowling family. Make sure you do that because that T-shirt is coming along. It's getting there. I know it took almost two seasons, didn't it? Well, a season and a half. Anyway, make sure you contact the Facebook page and group at Growling and Prowling. Make sure you join the group and add yourself to the Growling and Prowling friends list, as well as keeping up with me on Instagram so you can find out what the shenanigans I will be caught up in on and off season. But until the next time, keep prowling the airwaves and keep growling out. Keep pounding.